you new to the channel, I'm Angela Borval of the Law Tribe Network, and I'm so excited for today's video. I've been meaning to make it for such a long time. It is a step-by-step guide on exactly what it takes and exactly what you need to do to put yourself in a position to be competitive for a law firm job, and specifically a big law firm job right out of law school. And I'm going to share with you guys all of my strategies and industry knowledge and ninja tricks that I used when I was in law school to do this exact same process and get a big law firm job right after graduation, and that you guys can implement and put into practice right away. So I hope you guys are excited. If you are, smash that like button and keep on watching. The first thing we need to talk about is grades, because big law firm hiring is almost exclusively based on the grades that you get your 1L year and the ranking of your law school. And where you go to law school and the ranking that that law school gets is going to be determined by the U.S. News and World Report publication that comes out every year. And so law firms, or law schools I should say, are generally grouped into 4 tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And so we'll talk about them in those tiers, but ultimately what's important is the actual number ranking that your law school gets, because that's going to determine where in your class you need to rank your 1L year in order to be competitive for a big law firm position. So I created a chart to help show you guys, based on the tier of your law school, the actual number ranking of your law school, what class ranking you need to get in order to be competitive for a big law firm position. One thing to note about the tiers is that there's a special subsection within Tier 1 known as the T14 schools, or the top 14 schools, which are the law schools in the U.S. that are consistently ranked top 14. Now, why it's 14 and not 15, I have no idea. But those law schools are generally going to be the same year after year after year, and they're going to have their own special category because of the name recognition and the prestige associated with them. The other thing to keep in mind as we go through the chart is that the actual number GPA you get is not what's important. The class ranking is what's important. Because even though most law schools generally have a curve that's about a B, a B+, all law schools do it a little bit differently. So some are a little more lenient, some are a little bit more strict. And so what percentage of the class you fall into is what is going to be the determining factor, not your number GPA. That way law firms can more easily compare law school to law school. So let's run through the chart really quickly. First, you have your T14 schools, or the top 14 ranked law schools in the United States. And in order to be competitive for a big law firm position, you need to rank in the top 40% of the class. Now, caveat to that, I personally think that if you go to a T14 school, you can find a big law firm job somewhere in the United States, even if that's in a more regional office of a big law firm headquartered in one of the bigger cities, because most big law firms really like to see those credentials in their associates. They love to see that they went to these prestigious law schools, and so even if you didn't perform particularly well, you still have a really good shot at being competitive regardless of your class ranking in a T14 school. Then we have the Tier 1 law schools. The law schools rank numbers 1 through 50, which of course include the T14 law schools as well. And in order to be competitive for a big law firm job, going to one of those law schools, you need to rank between the top 40% of your class and the top 15% of your class. Now, this is where the numbers become important, because like I said, numbers 1 through 14, you can be in the top 40% of your class and you can be fine, you can be competitive. If you are number 50 on the list, you're going to need to get closer to that top 15 percentage in order to be competitive. And then of course, every number in between is going to be a sliding scale. So just keep that in mind as you compare these ranking numbers to the class ranking numbers. Then you have Tier 2, which are law schools ranked numbers 51 to 100. And here's where it starts getting really competitive, very difficult to get one of these big law firm jobs. You're going to need to get into the top 15 to the top 5% of your class to make yourself competitive. And again, that means if you're going to law school ranked number 51, you can be in that top 15%, but if you're going to law school ranked number 100, you have to be within that top 5% to even be competitive. And getting a big law firm job coming out of a Tier 2 school is not impossible. I've seen it done, but it is difficult. And so you're going to have to work your butt off to get yourself up into the highest echelon of that class ranking to give yourself the best chance of getting one of those spots. Next, we have tier 3 schools, which are ranked numbers 101 to 150, and tier 4 schools, which are ranked numbers 151 to 201. And for both of these tiers, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very competitive. For tier 3 schools, I would say rank within the top 5 to top 1%, depending on the number ranking of your law school. And for tier 4 schools, I would straight up say be number 1 in your class. And in addition to ranking insanely high in your class after 1L year, you're likely also going to need to give them a reason to take a look at you, an explanation for why you went to that law school instead of a more highly ranked law school. If it was for family reasons, for work obligations, for financial purposes, it's going to need to be an explanation that they can understand, to the effect of, I could have gone to this other law school, but for XYZ reasons, I chose to come here instead, but I'm just as qualified, I'm just as hardworking, I have the exact same characteristics of somebody coming out of a more highly ranked law school. Now, these law school tier rankings versus class percentage rankings are, of course, generalizations. So if any of you guys have personal experiences being either more competitive or less competitive, depending on your percentage class ranking or the law school you went to, then please let us know in the comments below so that we can see if what's actually happening in real time is being accurately reflected in the industry standards. So that's grades explained, and that is by far the most important piece, the biggest piece of the puzzle in terms of making yourself competitive for these big law firm positions right out of law school. And so if you're interested in learning how to get these great grades, I'm going to link in the description below my video on how to study in law school and how to take law school exams. So be sure to check those both out. That's it for this one. I hope you guys liked it. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you have any follow-up questions about the process, about whether there are any caveats to what I said, let me know in the comments section below, and be on the lookout for the next video in the series. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.